in. This is an hour-long interview, and I'm not chopping it up either. Episode 50 with the wonderful Ray Garza.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the main event of episode 50, also known as week 2 of PyroCon. Yes, we are here with the wonderful Ray Garza, Tank McGreggor comic lead. I'm guessing he's the man behind the whole thing, it seems like. Digital Lizards of Doom contributor and a lesser-known comics artist with a style unto his own. It's legendary, guys. Check it out. What's up, Ray?
Hello. Happy to be here.
Dude, it's awesome to have you here on number 50. I don't know what we're going to call this episode just yet, but it might be Tank McGreggor of Doom. I don't know. But, dude, let's jump into this, man, and tell us a little bit about Ray and how all this stuff got started.
All this stuff got started. Well, I mean, I've always drawn, always doodled, and always had my hand on with a pencil and just doing little bits of stories and drawings and characters here and there when I was little, you know. At some point in my life, I veered off into film and filmmaking, which is what I studied. I studied film at UT and the University of Texas. And I did that for a long time, and I worked some productions. I made a few shorts. I made a feature film myself. As time went on, it became harder and harder to put together crews and have people be passionate about your project and like launch something off the ground, you know. But I still wanted to get that like creative outlet. So I kind of started rediscovering my love for drawing. And, you know, just little by little, I started just drawing this character, Tank McGreggor, and, you know, making up a story and making a sequential art. Before I knew it, I was 121 pages in, and I thought, might as well ink it. And then I inked it, and then I might as well color it. Then I had it colored. Like, before you know it, I have a book. So
would you
I had a lot of fun doing this.
Would you call a 121-page book knee deep?
Knee deep. It's like waist deep. Yeah, I couldn't go back. I couldn't go back. I was in it to win it.
There was no looking back for sure. Well, yeah. Obviously, like you've kind of got your fingers a little stretched, I think, with Tank and DLOD. With your style and everything, what's inspiring you these days?
What's inspiring me these days?
Yeah, like in the now, like what's making you, you know, inspired to go to work and crank out all this like wonderful stuff?
Really, it varies from day to day. I mean, like right now I'm watching Raised by Wolves on HBO, which is not my favorite show, but it's got a lot of interesting like sci-fi ideas. So, I mean, if you read the book, Tank McGregor, you'll see that it's a lot of like hard sci-fi, but really Looney Tunes-ified. Like it's really ridiculous. Like Futurama meets Looney Tunes meets Dune. You know, like I just take all these ideas that I love and I just kind of like try to take the piss out of them to not be too serious. You know, the universe of Tank McGregor is very like silly and like self-referential and doesn't take itself too seriously. So I just see these things like Blade Runner, the new Dune that came out, and I just like grab ideas from all that. And I think, how can I subvert it and make it like silly or funny, you know? And I just kind of like include it into the stories.
Yeah.
So sci-fi and a lot of like 80s action movies is what drove the comic, you know, like all these like big, tough Arnold Schwarzeneggers and Van Dammes with these one-liners that are ridiculous, you know. That's exactly what he is, you know. He belongs in the 80s.
So Tank McGregor is definitely an 80s baby.
He's an 80s baby. Or wouldn't that make it a 70s baby? Because like he has to thrive in the 80s.
That's true.
So I'm not sure. I just know that he's an 80s.
We could definitely leave that up for the bait for the masses.
Right.
So when did Lesser Known kind of like come into your picture? Like how did the connection between you and Lesser Known happen?
Oh man, I feel like the luckiest SOB ever because like, so I finished the book and I had it printed, right? And I have all these copies and I just started promoting myself and putting myself on Instagram and taking the book literally to like comic book shops and literally going like, hey, put this in your shelves. And they're like, yeah, okay. And trying to sell it on my website and, little by little trying to make some sort of footprint in the digital world. And I ran into, I guess, the algorithm just threw lesser known comics into my feed. And I just saw their slogan, which was like treating artists like humans since like 2020 or whenever they started. And I looked them up and I saw a little more about what they were, and I kind of dug what they were doing, like a lot of indie creators, kind of let's explore creativity and just be creative, and I literally just kind of reached out to them. I reached out to them twice. I forget who I did the first time, but I got no answer. The second time, I just directly emailed Mark Bernal, the founder.
Yeah.
And like within like 2 days, he like responded. And I just like emailed like, hey, I love what you guys do. What do I have to do? Who do I have to kill to, put my comic in your hands? And he was just like, yeah, man, send that over. So I sent him a digital copy, and like within a week, I was on the phone with him and we're just talking and just like shooting the shit, and before I know it, he's like, all right, let's put Tank McGreggor into our catalog. And I'm like, awesome.
Yeah. The silver dollar eyes, like, oh my gosh. But Mark's a super nice guy.
Yeah, the best.
How does this, like, I know it's a little bit of a backtrack here, but how does a comic start? Is this just an idea? Is it like some storyboards? Is it debating on what characters you might like to use for a story? I mean, obviously it's all around a story, I imagine.
Yes. It started in a different couple of ways. The main way would be doodles. Like I'd be at work and I would just start doodling and I'd make up like a character and I'm like, oh, this guy seems kind of interesting. Like fold it up, put it in my pocket and like bring him back later, And the other side of it, the story side, was one word. I forget where I heard it. I was hearing somebody talk about something and he brought up transhumanism.
Okay.
Which is like, transhumanism, I guess, would be like, oh, a robot wants to be a human wants to be a robot, and just that word, like I just thought that word was just like phonetically cool, and I thought I want to make something out of that. So the story itself has to do with a lot of AI wanting to be humans and AIs, and like the line between and the transcendence that happens, between humanity and computer. And that became the evolution, the genesis of the story. And then, while that's the general story, Tank McGreggor is sort of like a Mad Max character where he's got his own adventures, but he falls into this world with these other crazy characters, and he's sort of like the one constant,
Okay.
So these things are happening around him. That's just how I use him to tell this like bigger story that's happening around him. And he's just trying to navigate through this mission, But yeah, it just happened like that, man. Like it was very much, once I had those pieces, it took me, like I wrote like 15 pages of the script. And like, honestly, it was like 3 days I wrote the script. But then after that, it sort of evolved, and like I would add pages here, pages there. I would draw 20 pages and thought, they needed something here. I was figuring it out as I was going along. I had never made a comic of this scale. So it wasn't like I'm going to go in with the intention of making a comic and here are my storyboards. No, it was just sort of like little by little, little by little, little by little. It was a process itself. It took like 2 years. So
yeah, good Lord. Would you consider it more of a graphic novel or a comic in your eyes?
It's a graphic novel. Yeah.
Okay.
I have it right here.
Yeah.
It's pretty thick. Main inspiration for the way it looks is the Mike Mignola's Hellboy books from Dark Horse. Like I literally took their books and like said I wanted to do it like this. So it's like the same texture, like the same feel, sort of like the same thickness, Like I don't know what I'm doing, so I kind of like look inspiration from other people. But yeah, it's a graphic novel, 100%. What's the difference? Comic book, I imagine like a tiny
floppy thing, yeah.
Yeah, floppy, like 12-page thing.
Gotcha. Well, man, I read the prologue because I'm kind of new to Tank McGreggor. I was just kind of like, what's going? Because you're gonna hate this. For the longest time, I thought that was your name. I was like, this guy's name's Tank McGreggor. Holy hell! But then, eventually things click. But I seen the prologue and went through that today and was just like, holy crap. And then found out where you can still order these guys, right? You can still order the first book.
You can still order them. You can get the digital copy or the paperback copy at tankmcgregor.com.
Yes, dude, I love the slick little promos in there. But man, another thing that drew me to you is these time lapses of your work. Like, it blows me away. And obviously these things aren't done on pen and paper. So how in the heck do you do this?
Yeah, it's all digital. I mean, like, I would love to be able to draw on pen and paper like that ease, but if you see my time lapses, I make a lot of mistakes and I change my mind a lot. And I resize things in proportions. So I'm kind of figuring it out as I go along. I can kind of see what I'm doing, but I'm also figuring it out on the spot, and then that doesn't look good. And then in the time lapse, it looks pretty fast, but in reality, I'll draw something and then I'll just kind of like stay back and watch it for like 50 minutes. And then like, well, it needs something over here, and go back again. But yeah, those things take, I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but like something like the variant cover that I did for D-Lod, Digital Lessons of Doom, that took me like 4 hours.
Okay.
To do. So that's kind of.
I went back through your timeline and watched as many as I could find, and it was just like, holy Christ.
And that's something I just recently started doing because I didn't know that the software I have could do that. And my wife would always tell me, like, you have to do time lapses. I'm like, I don't know how to do it. I'm not going to hold my phone and like draw, And I'm like, oh, wait, this records it on its own. So I'm trying to get into the habit of like recording everything I do. Although sometimes I'll record something and then I'm like, I don't want people to see how crappy this is. I just kind of delete it.
Yeah, man. So is this like a digital pencil, like digital paper app thing? Like, explain to me a little bit about your tools, man.
Yeah. So I use Clip Studio Paint Pro, which used to be called Manga Studio, which also, I don't know how, I think now it's pretty mainstream, but when I first got it, when it was just called Manga Studio, I didn't know anybody who had it. Everybody was just drawing on Photoshop. And I've tried drawing in Photoshop, but it's not for me. I don't understand it very well. I'm trying to learn. But a friend of mine from work told me that he was drawing on Manga Studio. So then I bought it. Like, this was back in the day. I still had like the physical disc, and that eventually changed to be called Clip Studio Pro. But it's an awesome piece of software. Whatever you can imagine, you can do it. And you can buy all your brushes. And it's just, can't really move my computer very much, but like I have a giant, I can kind of see it there. It's like
crap. Okay.
Yeah. So it's Wacom. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Wacom or Wacom. Let's just call it Wacom. That's what I call it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's one of those screens. It's basically another monitor, but you can draw on it, with this pen.
Oh, so that's like rad.
On the computer.
Yeah, I have to excuse my ignorance because I would have not known that at all.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. It's funny because like when you first start drawing digitally on a computer, there's a little bit of getting used to because like you're used to drawing on paper, right? But when you do it on a computer, there's a tiny bit of lag.
There's like no tactile feel to it or something.
Yeah, and it's a different textile feel. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so over the years, I just kept upgrading my gear and get that lag shorter and shorter and shorter. Now there's almost like no lag in the drawing of it, but there's still like the textile feels still different from paper.
It's so awesome. So like you almost can have your, I'm trying to say this so you can understand my ignorance. You can almost have like a 3D scape in the thing, so to speak, because you can like zoom in and zoom back out and place and resize and do all this like
100%. And one of the cool things that this has is you can import 3D models of like humans. So like you get a female and a male. Sometimes I'll be like struggling with like a position or whatever. So you'll like bring in the 3D model and you're literally like shape the model however you want to put them and then like put them in the physical 3D space. And once you got them there, you just basically just kind of trace over them. And now you got a good skeleton. And from there you can like move forward.
Wow. If
that made any sense.
Yeah, it does a little bit. It blows my mind because I love the comic book like world. I love the aspect of it and like, how people do their things. I love being able to see the parallels between like guitar playing and the comics because like that inspires us too, just like looking at this artwork and like these stories and like, a badass character could inspire a really fun song. You know what I mean? So there's like all these parallels here that I think could be visited. Hence why we're here on episode 50 of the Guitar Pirates podcast. Guys, I want to thank you guys for inviting us into your earlobes. As always, these shows and every shows are brought to you by Analog Pedals, meanbeard.com, and our wonderful newest member of the band, Greenbeard Grooming. Guys, check them out at their respective websites. And let's get back to the show.
I gotta say, I wish I could grow a beard like the one who's 40.
Dude, I wish I could do what you do, bro, so we could trade if you want.
What you're seeing right here is like 3 months worth of me letting it grow. No, I'm just kidding. It's not 3 months, but it's pretty bad.
Dude, moving on a little bit here, what's your involvement with DLOD? I know you did the variant cover. Are you working on any DLOD right now?
Not right now. They haven't asked me to be honest. Like we mentioned earlier, Gabe Valentine, he writes Digital Lizards of Doom. He sent me over the book 1 and the digital version of book 2, and I read those two, and I'm like, these are awesome. Thanks for sharing with me. And that's when he's like, hey, actually, it wasn't him. I think it was Mark Bernal who was like, hey, let's get you to do a variant cover for the upcoming Digital Lizards of Doom book 3. And I'm like, I'm all for it, totally. So I read the books and I kind of made my version of a variant cover the way I would do it, and they loved it. And after that, Gabriel also asked me to do a couple of character sheets. So a character sheet, just in case you don't know, it's like every comic book or every story has like a Bible, which is like you have to follow the Bible if you want to like keep drawing so that every page can be consistent. You want to make sure every character has the same design. So you have like a character sheet and you like just use that for reference. And he asked me to do a couple of character sheets. So I did that for him. But in terms of actually working on an entire book, I haven't done anything like that yet.
Gotcha.
I would love to.
Yeah, even just the variant cover too. I mean, it's kind of dipping your toes into some water that might be a little unknown.
And it was a lot of fun because I had never actually taking somebody else's characters and somebody else's like universe and drawn it. I've always just drawn my own stuff. So like being able to like go into the mind of Gabriel and just kind of draw it in my style was liberating. And at the same time, like I liked having that like, oh, I have to stick within these guidelines, but like I'm gonna push the boundary a little bit,
It's like
it was so cool.
It's like a set standard. You have the set standard, but yet you can manipulate it a little bit here and there.
Yeah,
it's a cool fusion to watch it. So you would give the DLOD story 2 thumbs up so far?
Because I only have 2 thumbs. Yes. If I had more thumbs, I would give it more than that.
You kind of touched on this a little bit, but obviously you're getting character sheets, so that means some of these characters are kind of coming to you already set in stone.
Yeah.
Do you have any play at all with them? Say like maybe what they might wear, or maybe like in a certain scene how something might look, or is that just complete? Is everything just kind of cut and dry?
Maybe a little bit. I also wasn't trying to take too much liberty because back when I was doing the cover and I was messing with the characters and stuff, I was still fairly new to the whole lesser known and like Gabriel's world and all that stuff. So I didn't want to like just take it and run with it my own, because now if I just do it my own, I mean, he's not going to use it. He wants his characters, But like, yeah, I would do like a little flare of the hair, I added a skull here where it wasn't there before, just kind of little tiny things that I felt needed to be there. They just added to it. Originally, one of his characters had more of an afro, and I sort of changed it because I just don't like, nothing against an afro, but I don't know. I like it when it's more like when hair is like fire. So I just changed it to be more like fire. It still had that like volume, but it was just more wavy. So that's the only change that I made consciously, that I was like, well, maybe he wants an afro. Maybe he doesn't care. I don't know. But like, he seemed to like it. So I do have a little bit of creative freedom, but if you were to tell me to change it, I'd change it. I mean, I have no qualm with that.
So in kind of in the same question, but in regards to Tank McGreggor, is that solely you? Like you have the
Oh,
full blown right to just do whatever you want. If you want to put Tank in swim shorts, you can do it.
yes. And I do actually put him in swim shorts at one point. No, actually, it's just underwear.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, I can do whatever I want with Tank. The only rule I really have right now is that he never removes his helmet.
okay.
Sort of like a Judge Dredd RoboCop kind of thing. Well, RoboCop does remove his helmet from time to time, but it's more of like a Judge Dredd luchador kind of thing. You know, he just never removes his helmet. So
faux
there are scenes where he's got
Mandalorian
like
kind of thing. Not to
use
a buzzword here, but you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the lucha reference though. That's awesome. Now, in your envision of Tank McGregor, like, was the original character just kind of like oh, I got it right here, or did it kind of evolve some? Has Tank gone through a few variations?
He has gone through a few variations. And most of the variations were born out of, I don't know if this came out really cool. I don't know if I can draw this 100,000 times. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be too complicated. Or that's just going to like, I can draw this in this angle, but if I change the angle, I don't know what it looks like from the other side, you know? So I would like get rid of that. So like originally Tank had these goggles, you know, they're just like circular goggles, and they look cool the way I drew them in like the initial model of it. But when I would like make him look up, down, or whatever, then it just kind of looked goofy, and I couldn't get the circles to look good every single time. So I'm like, I don't like the goggles anymore. And so I just changed it to something easier, and it was like a visor. And then like the nose, like I hated drawing the nose, and no matter what kind of nose I gave him, it always looked like too cute or too like button nose or just too goofy. So I just made the visor go all the way down, eliminate the nose completely, you know, like just kind of fix that problem. And little by little, he started taking shape, you know. I'm a huge fan of like the Rocketeer, so I wanted to give him like a Rocketeer jacket, like a bomber jacket, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why he's got that like brown jacket, but it evolved to look like this sort of like Hellboy scruffy jacket, you know. Just little things like that until eventually he just landed on like a sweet spot where I'm like, this looks cool. It has a good silhouette. You know, they say if you want to make like an iconic character, you got to make the silhouette be iconic and recognizable, Mickey Mouse and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it just reached that point. And maybe you get you get the digital or the physical, both copies of the comic book. In the back, I have the initial sketches, and you can see like the very first Tank McGregor sketch that I ever made. It's in the back.
Awesome.
So I love that's a good question, because if you are curious, it's there.
Yeah, most definitely. Besides Tank McGregor, do you have anything else you might be cooking up, or are you just solely Tank McGregor full bore?
Right now, I am mostly solely Tank McGregor, only because I'm knee deep in book 2. Turning it full circle, sir.
Yes.
In book 2, so I'm doing book 2 right now. So every time I sit down to draw, it's just to draw Tank McGregor. But I've also been in this universe with this character for 4 years at this point. So naturally, my mind goes to like, oh, I want to work on this, I want to work on that, you know. And I just know whatever else I work on is going to take another year and a half. So I got to kind of like really commit to it. So I got to like decide well in advance what I'm going to be able to do. And I kind of want to do a fantasy. And I've been doing a lot of sci-fi, so I want to like switch to fantasy and make more like a dark fantasy in the vein of like Berserk or Game of Thrones, you know. But at the same time, I also want to make like some just like a regular slice of life comic, you know, about like living in the neighborhood or something crazy happens. I don't know. So I have a bunch of ideas and I write them all down, but like as of now, it is just Tank McGregor.
Well, have you seen a good response from book 1?
I have. I mean, I haven't been able to get it in as many hands as I want just yet. I mean, it's still young in its infancy. But the people who have read it have really liked it. Even people who are not like my mom or my wife or anything, like people who I don't know if I should believe them, you know.
Yeah.
People who have nothing to gain from lying to me.
Yes.
Tell me that they like it, they enjoy it, they find it funny, they find it heartfelt and irreverent, which is like everything I was going for. Funnily enough, like the jokes that I thought were going to be like killer jokes, they were like, oh yeah, I guess. And the ones that I wasn't even thinking they were that funny are like really funny to them, you know? So it's like everybody digests the book in a different way. But yeah, it's been really cool seeing people's reactions to it and just hearing people talk to me about it. I mean, somebody who reads it and wants to talk to me about it, I can go on for hours about the book. I mean, I love it, and I love talking to people about it.
Well, that's my plan. I'm jumping on board after we get off here. I'm definitely pressing the buy now button.
Oh, right on.
For the paperback copy for sure, because I've got to pick that up and get in on the story, so at least we can come back and do this for round 2 and round 3 and all the other awesome, releases that you're going to have.
Episode 100, episode 150. Bring it back every 50 episodes.
Well, we also I have some awesome stuff I'm going to tell you off air because I can't let this leak just yet. But when I press record, when we're done, I'll tell you what's going on, and I think you'll like what's up for sure. Let's kind of keep it rolling a little bit because you answered a lot of my questions as we were kind of rolling it down. And it's all good. How did you develop your style? Do you feel like different stories require you to, like, I don't know, be manipulative towards your style? Like, is this just a development of, as many years have you been doing this?
Yes, to all that. I mean, like, I haven't been doing this for so many years. I just developed my own ways that I figured out how I want to do hands and how I want to do, like, noses and things like that, and just how I like to see sharp lines as opposed to, like, really realistic looking lines. I like to make things very stylized. And a lot of it was also just inspired by, I mentioned earlier, Mike Mignola. I mean, Mike Mignola and Hellboy was like the main thing that I would just like read over and over and over. And like, not even for the story. I love the stories, but like it's the drawings and the art that really just drew me in. And the simplicity and the way he uses shadows and lights. That's the main thing that made me go like, I want to do this. I want to make something like this and like stylized. And Mike Mignola, when he draws, he doesn't concern himself with having things look so realistic, he just goes for his style. And that's like, yeah, I got to go for my style. And every now and then I'll try to like diverge from my style, even whether it's subconsciously or consciously, and I will start not liking what I'm drawing. It's just not coming out the way I want it to look. And I'll get depressed and I'm like, this page is a bust, whatever. And then I'll realize, I just got to go back to doing it the way it feels natural to me. And once I start doing that, it starts taking to a sort of shape of something that's more familiar to my style. I don't consciously pick the style. I just kind of like draw what I like to see the way my brain thinks, I guess.
Do you feel like certain stories tend to maybe being more darker as far as like you said, like the nose, for example, how it was all cartoony and cute? Like, do you feel like sometimes certain stories need for you to be more edgy and more like, darker?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like, because it also has to do with like the character, right? Like if you're going to draw a boxer, you got to give him that nose, and you can't hide the nose. You got to give him that like boxer's nose. Little things like that. I mean, that's a very simple example, but the art always has to tie back to the character's backstory. It can't just be, I like it because it looks funny or it looks interesting. No, it's got to be like, his nose is like this because he's being like beat up by life. He's got this scar here from when he was 5. And you gotta, I think it does have to be darker sometimes. Again, naturally, I tend to diverge from dark and like realistic to just cartoony. So even when I draw like a really gory scene, it just looks like a piano fell on the coyote, like it looks funny. But I try to still like add a lot of like blood and gore to like drive the point that this is violence,
Yes.
Which is something again like that I really enjoy.
You're getting very descriptive on these details, and I love it. Do you feel like that is the most, besides the story, and I'm kind of really refraining this question towards the art of the comic, so I'm kind of taking the story out of the vacuum. What do you feel like is the most crucial part of the comic as far as the art goes? Is it the details like you were saying with the hands and the nose and the guy's, the boxer's nose, or if he's got a scar in his face?
or is it the style of animation, or style of drawing? Is it the way it's laid out? What do you feel like is the most crucial?
I think it's the style. It's a combination of like the style and the way it's laid out. Like the overall aesthetic of a page is what draws me into it. I mean, like I'll go to a comic shop and just open books and like immediately go like, I'm not feeling this one without knowing what the story is, and that's kind of like bad. It's kind of judging a book by its cover. But that's for me what attracts me most, and what I try to make happen in my books and my art is just like, this page is looking very boring. What can I do to spice it up? It's a conversation between two people. Normally, I want to just go like square, 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 square. I mean, panel, 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 like one person talking, the other person talking, whatever. And after you're done, you're like, this is really boring. It's just 6 panels of faces talking. How can I make that different? So then I'll just like, well, it depends from page to page, but like I'll do something drastically different, keep the conversation the same, but like something crazy is happening, or like something that I haven't seen in a comic book before, and just make it like a huge work of art, and then just put the bubbles in,
Just put the bubbles in. You sound like Bob Ross. Just put the bubbles in. You'll be fine.
Happy little bubbles.
So, with Tank and number 2, how far would you say you're down the line with Tank and book number 2?
How far into it? I'm
yeah. Are you close? Are you halfway? 75%? 30%? I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot, and if we don't need to do this, we don't have to.
No. I think it's like 65 to 70%.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's getting there. It's one of those things where like it's shifting and moving as I go along, but I know where the end game is, and I'm getting there. But it's like, wow, I'm already at page 80 and I still have to get this shit done, like I have to like start wrapping it up, but it's going to take me a few pages, and like it's funny, like I said, like this isn't like I never intended to like be a comic book writer or a comic book artist, so I'm learning as I go along. The majority of my adulthood was in film and screenwriting, so adapting it to like sequential art has been so much fun and like such a learning experience. But so I'm still like, when you tell me like how far into it are you at 70%, I'm guessing,
that dude, a rough gauge is just totally cool. Do you feel like ever one day this could be animation? Because I mean, you're literally drawing this. Like, could you do this at one point?
I mean, if I had the patience, it would have been animation already. I mean, I just don't have the patience to draw, and I'm just one man.
Yes.
So like, but yeah, like I love animation, and I watch cartoons probably more than I do like live action stuff these days. So yeah, I do see it being an animation where I would love to be in charge of it, but like have a studio. Actually, it's always been my dream to like, if I had the funds, I would open an animation studio.
Yes.
And probably just like fund my own projects, But yeah, I mean, like I said, like Tank McGreggor is very much an 80s style adventure. So the cartoon would have to be like something you would see in the 80s, like the G.I. Joes and like the My Little Ponies and stuff like that.
Is Tank, getting into a little bit of descriptive of Tank, how do you hear Tank's voice? Is he a burly guy? Is he kind of mean, or is he kind of like Peter Quill?
Have a very specific description of his voice. I don't even know if you'll get this reference, but did you ever play Metal Gear Solid?
I vaguely. It's been a long time since I've been into the video game, but I do know what you're talking about. So
David Hayter playing Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid, that's the voice that I hear. That's sort of like nanomachines, like gravelly down here.
Gravelly and slow and low and...
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. This is kind of a fanboy question, because I'm kind of, been shown this lesser known stuff. Do you think ever one day down the line we could see Dizzy and Tank together?
I think it can happen.
Because, dude, the two art styles are so close, and like, I mean, you could do something, right? Like, yeah, it's there. Sure, like, there's legs there.
If you read the Digital Legends of Doom, I don't want to give anything away in it, but I don't think it's a spoiler to say that it takes place mostly in a digital space, whereas Tank McGreggor takes place like in a physical space. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So either they would have to come out of that digital space, or Tank would have to get sucked into that digital space. But yeah, 100%, anything's possible.
There's veins here that could this could happen. Mark, I know eventually you're going to listen to this, man. Let's just plant the seeds. We're just planting seeds here.
You know what I would love to do is versus situation. Batman versus Superman, Freddy versus Jason, Tank McGregor versus the Digital Wizards of Doom. See who makes it out of the end.
You just expanded on the idea 20-fold, and my brain's going. That's so awesome, dude.
Then how do you decide who wins, though? I feel like I would lose a lot of friendships because I'd be very.
How do you decide who wins? You and Gabe need to do rock, paper, scissors or something.
Exactly. Or I guess it would be like Mark would probably be like, oh, well, which one's selling more? I don't know.
or you could end up doing a round 1 and 2 and have a rubber match somewhere down the line and just make more books.
Right, exactly. You can also go with the whole thing where like, oh, they're fighting, but then like a third party enters and then they got to join forces and like beat him. And that's usually how these things go. But
and then they can, share pineapple pizza at the end of it or whatever happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Yeah.
Dude, I love that you're open to something like that. Obviously, Ray, you've been kicking ass for a little while. I mean, you may not think that, but from an outsider's perspective, you're kicking some ass. What do you contribute to your success? Is it like your morning coffee? Is it a workout? Is it just time away? Do you unplug your phone? You watch My Little Pony? I mean, I don't know. What do you contribute to this success, man?
Well, I don't drink coffee. Okay. I barely work out like in the morning. See, that's a tough question because I don't know. Like, honestly, like my answer is kind of sad and I didn't want to get too much into this, but like the short answer would be like depression. I mean, I don't say I'm a depressed person because I don't think I'm as close to like what some people face on a daily basis. But there are times when like I have to go to drawing and to just being creative to like have that outlet. Because like work's got me down, or like I just can't deal with like having a conversation with someone. I just want to be alone. I'm very introverted. Sometimes I can be like I don't want to leave the house, and when that happens, there's not much to do but to like sort of get lost in my own brain and my own imagination and just kind of like let it out on the paper. Whether it be writing or drawing or making a film. So it's long bouts of like not wanting to like socialize and like go to parties and shit. That's what I contribute to like, oh, I have time to make a 121-page comic, Basically,
yeah,
that's what it is.
The comic is totally rad and it's freaking killing it. So like, I get it. Like I started this podcast because I'm a quiet guy. Like I don't talk much. My wife's like, why don't you talk at all? And I just don't. And then I was like, what can I do to combat this? Well, podcast, all you do is talk. So there you go,
Yeah, that was a great evolution of it for sure. And I would love for my answer to be like, oh, you get up in the morning and
dude, I had Greg Martin on here. I had Greg Martin on here from the Kentucky Headhunters, and I asked him the same question because I like asking guys that. And he held up a coffee mug that says, I pooped today. So Rudy Sarzo from Quiet Ride, I had him on here, and he gets hopped up on CBD oil. So I mean, it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
This is going to get a little deeper here. It's along the lines of what along the lines of the last question, but here in the now of right now, in the present, what are you thankful for? I like to know what people, are actually positively thankful for in their life.
I am positively thankful for my health more than anything. I mean, like whenever I was talking about depression earlier, whenever I feel like, oh man, like down and just like nothing's working out, it's like at least I'm not like dealing with some problem that I can't just, that I can't get rid of, like some deadly disease, or like, at least I still have like my fingers that I can draw. At least I still have my legs that I can walk. So first and foremost, that's something I gotta like think about on a daily basis. Like I'm healthy and I have no serious problems, thank God. Second thing will be my wife. I'm incredibly thankful for my wife. I have no idea what she sees in me or why she's still around. I don't get it. And like, I mean, like, if you were to just be a third person observer looking at our relationship, it's a lot of like me telling her like, "Ooh, look at this!" Like, "Ooh, look at this! Ah, watch this!" Like a bunch of like an X-Men comic. Oh, and me talking about like video games to her, and like, in Halo, like the Prometheans, and she's like, like she'll just like indulge me. You know what I mean?
That's so awesome, because my wife's the same way. My wife's the breadwinner and is a compliance auditor for gynecologists across the nation. And I get to talking about guitars or podcasts or something. She's just like, just go away for a while. We'll kind of shift a little bit here towards a few more questions, and then I'll let you go and let you have your night. Is there anything modern that you're into? Like, is there any books or shows? Like, do you like any of the Star Wars stuff? Are you into the video games like the Elden Ring? I got a friend who's just going crazy about that right now. I'm not a big video game guy, but it kind of all falls in together, right?
Don't even get me started on Elden Ring. I mean, what do you think I was doing before I got on this podcast? What do you think I'm going to do when I get off this podcast? It's just been Elden Ring nonstop. Like, I know it's like the popular game right now, but it really is so good, and I can't stop playing it. So I love Elden Ring. I've been doing that. Okay. Yeah, the Star Warses. I mean, like, I loved the Mandalorian was really good. I have my critiques, but it's enjoyable. I liked it more than the Boba Fett show. Star Wars in general has always been like, I think I'm not alone. That's been a huge inspiration and like something I've always loved. More so before the whole Disney acquisition thing, where they just started like pumping out like on an assembly line, like Star Wars. No, it's a product. We got to make money off of this, which has always been to make money, obviously. But like, at least when George Lucas had it, it was still technically an independent film. He funded it.
I think it gets to a point too where you kind of grow out of your britches. I mean, don't you think that they've done enough to be like, okay, it's okay to sell out? I mean, some of the stories are pretty good, but
yeah,
I get what you mean.
I mean, I can be on my high horse and saying like, yeah, they sold out, but
dude, no, I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I said I didn't mean it like that.
No. Because like, if I were to like get an offer from somebody to like buy something I've made, I'd be like, totally, like, yeah. Can I have another? Like, I would totally sell it. Yeah, exactly. Like, so I like that. I've been watching. Oh man, like, okay, guilty pleasure, and I'm gonna like I'm gonna probably lose a lot of points with. I'm sure with the guitar crowd and probably with my
no way, dude. As well, but, you'll be fine.
There's a show on Netflix called Love Is Blind.
Okay.
It's a reality TV show where like these people don't see each other, but they date through like a wall, so they don't know what they look like, and then they gotta like, the only way they could see each other is if they propose to each other and get married. So they propose to this person whom they've never seen, and then they have to get married afterwards. Just like, and meet them, and like have to get married within a week. And it's just so bizarre, and it's such good trash TV.
Yeah. Is this like a reality show?
It's a reality show.
Dude, my wife would probably slide out of her chair for something like that.
It's like the one reality show that I'll watch with my wife and be like, oh my God, can you believe what this guy said? Oh, I can't believe that she's such a bitch. And this guy, like we love it so much, and it's so good, such good trash television. I can't help but plug it for some reason.
Are you into any of the Marvel stuff?
Oh yeah. I mean, again, I've sort of waned a little bit after the Infinity Saga ended. After they killed Thanos, spoiler if someone hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
After they killed Thanos, I was like, I don't know, like something inside me clicked, and I was like, like there, I'm done. Like, doesn't matter what comes after. Like I finished the Marvel series. I'm happy. I'm happy where they took it, and it was all perfect for me. I 100% loved it. But before then, it was like a trailer would come on, and I would not see the trailer. I would not let anybody talk to me because I wanted to see it fresh. Now I can watch the trailers and I can enjoy this stuff a little more.
Yeah, that Infinity War stuff kind of got people stirred up. It was crazy. Are you excited for the new Doctor Strange movie at all?
I am, only because Sam Raimi is directing it.
Yes.
Sam Raimi, one of the all-time best. And it's weird because you see the trailer for that, and it doesn't look very Sam Raimi. It looks kind of Marvel-y. So you want him to be able to retain his style, but you don't know how much they let him do that, right? To begin, Marvel is such a machine at this point. You got to do what they want. You can't be yourself, I suppose.
Well, I think we know too that Marvel likes to play with us in their trailers. You know what I mean? True. They like to play with the narrative and play with different scenes and aspects of things. So that could probably take away from that a little bit.
You are 100% right. I think, you know what, and you're probably right, because I don't think Sam Raimi would have signed on if they were like, all right, but you have zero creative control,
No, and I obviously it's a trailer. I mean, you're trying to create that Infinity War buzz, Yeah. I mean, this is the evolution of the story in an odd sense from the aftermath of all that Spider-Man stuff, and that's the aftermath. What's that?
Do you like the Marvel movies? Do you follow those?
Yes. I'm earlobe deep in the Marvel movies.
Oh, we're getting deeper.
Yeah, we'll get real deep. We'll get up to the top of my bald head here in a minute if we keep going. Do you think Tank will last for a while? Do you envision 5+ books?
Yeah, I do. I in an ideal world, I envision taking it up to book 3 or book 4, and then have someone else kind of run with it with my blessing, and do a few here and there, maybe a few short stories, and just kind of have it just keep going and be. I mean, I would love for it to be in the zeitgeist, even if it doesn't ever reach heights of super popularity, but just something that oh yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that in bookstores. I mean, I would love for that to be the case.
Do you have anything beyond book 2 written for Tank?
Only in here. Yes. So
okay.
I know what has to happen and where I want to take it. And I have some questions that I've been setting up in book 1 and in book 2 that I have to now basically come to a conclusion in book 3. So do you think book 3 is going to kind of bookend somewhat of a chapter, and then Tank kind of moves on to another adventure? Or will the adventure carry on? The adventure will carry on, but it definitely will close an arc. For sure.
That's kind of what I was trying to get at. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's definitely building up to something. It's the background of these characters, whereas every book so far has been every book, there's only 1.5 books, but every story so far that I have is sort of self-contained, and it's an adventure within itself. The characters' backstories and what they talk about and how they interact with each other, suggests a deeper backstory to all of them that I'm sort of hinting at, and haven't really touched up on too much, but it's there, and it's something that from people that have read it, they've asked me hey, what's going on with these two? Why do they? I mean, who do they used to be, or what's their backstory? So that's the stuff that I want to get into more later on in the 3rd book, because the 2nd book, it's kind of late now. I can't really get too much into that. I can just sort of sprinkle in more clues. But the 3rd book is where I want to just say this is who these people were. This is why they are the way they are. These are the answers to your questions that I set up in book 1.
Awesome. Do you? This is kind of a comic structure. Do you do the covers last when you design these things?
Yeah, kind of. When I did Mechanical Menace, the 1st book, I finished inking it. And I did the cover last, but the colors were still being done. So it was sort of like in between,
Okay.
But the cover did happen because it was around the time when I already wanted to start putting it online and like a few chapters here and there. So I figured I needed a cover. So I did the cover sort of like halfway through it being done. The book 2, which is titled Tank McGreggor and the Cosmic Colossus, I still haven't done a cover for that.
Okay.
It's good, right? Yeah, I still haven't done a cover for that, but I have an idea of what I want to do with it. So yeah.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see my quote on the back of that thing. I'm kidding.
Your quote will be, I can't wait to see my quote on the back of this.
Yeah.
Let me write that down.
Oh my.
There we go.
Okay, answer me this, because you obviously kind of know the mind of Tank better than anybody. Tank's cruising through space, doing his thing, or whatever he's doing. What's he listening to?
Rush.
Always?
Yeah, for the most part, Rush or some sort of alien version of Rush. Whatever, like the alien version of Geddy Lee and Neil Peart and Alex Lifeson would be played in the Cosmos. That's what he's listening to, like really high pitched, long ass drum solos. That's what he's listening to. I love it. Excellent question though, because these are questions that I have answers to, but no one ever asks.
No way. We have to dive into this more because Tank's pretty sweet, dude. So we need to know a little bit about what's going on with Tank, right?
Right. Yeah. At the same time, it's this weird thing because like it is Rush and it's like some alien version of what Rush would sound like in space. But like in my head, in this universe, Earth is not really a thing. Like Earth might exist at some point somewhere, but I didn't want to make it like Guardians of the Galaxy where he's from Earth.
Yeah.
So he's got all these like kooky like pop culture references. I don't want to do that. I couldn't do that. They pretty much own that,
Yeah.
So I have to. So he's not from Earth, So I can't make it be Rush, but it's some alien version of Rush.
In Tank's world, you'll have to excuse my ignorance, and so I'm asking. In Tank's world, do people drive a lot or do they fly?
It's kind of a bit of both because they drive flying cars.
Okay. So we could possibly
so they're
see
like a foot above the ground, but they're driving.
Star Wars style,
speeder style, yeah.
Gotcha. So
there's
we
all
could
sorts of in my drawings, there's all sorts of things. They'll be driving like a foot off the ground, or there'll be like a spaceship just like crashing into a planet back here. It's just chaos. There's no.
So we
traffic.
could see Tank cruising around on some sort of like speeder bike motorcycle thing.
At some point, yeah.
Just being a badass.
Yeah, totally. Although he would probably say no because I don't have my license for this class of vehicle yet, and then just kind of like. That's something I would most probably do is like draw this really badass vehicle and him go like, I can't. I have to follow the law. And then
need to get the little scooter over.
Yeah, get the scooter over here. Yeah, exactly. That's more in line of what, and that goes back to what I was talking about, like taking the piss out of things. Like that's what I want to do with this comic. It's just more for the joke.
Yes,
he's gonna look badass regardless. But if it's funny, I'll do the funny thing.
Few more questions about Tank, man, and then we'll let you go. Is Tank a super serious guy, or is he going to be, cracking some jokes?
He doesn't know he's being funny when he's being funny. Like he's a serious guy, but he'll say things that people are like, "What? Like that was like, what did you say?" Like he's got a couple of one-liners that make sense to him in his own head, and it's sort of like it's born out of. To make a long story short, when I first met my wife, when we were dating, I could not for the life of me make her laugh. Like I couldn't make her laugh. I couldn't get any like conversation out of her. I thought this woman hates me. But after a while, I stopped trying to like what I would think would be like my giving her gold jokes, giving her my best material wouldn't make her laugh. But then like I would do the randomest things myself. Like I just do normal things that I would normally do. And she would crack up and she's like, "You're really funny when you don't know you're being funny. Like you don't know you say these dumbass things, but you're being hilarious." So that's kind of what that's born out of. Like Tank McGreggor doesn't intend to be funny. He's not cracking jokes, but he'll say something that I hope people find funny just because he's being himself,
Hearing this and hearing the comparativeness here, is Tank McGreggor a version of you?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like, it's the version of me that I'm too cowardly to be in real life, probably. Every character I write or draw is a some level of version of me. I mean, they're all just a part of me, really, and the way things that I believe, things that I feel, they're just manifestations of those tiny parts of my mind, you know.
Do you ever see Tank forming a team, or am I getting too far down the road?
No, you are kind of hitting on things that are happening in book 2, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything, but obviously we have questions, right? You know.
Yeah, exactly. No spoilers. No, not at all. But like, yeah, I mean, he definitely encounters people, and there are people who just hang out with him for the duration of the adventure on his ship, you know, and whether they survive the adventure or whether they stay with him is another story. You'll have to find out, you know,
Okay,
when
man.
you read the book.
Last question before we end this thing, and I press stop recording. What's
Sure.
Tank's favorite food? If Tank's
Macaroni.
going down the strip, wherever, and he sees he's got fast food here, he's got awesome place here, he's got a steakhouse here. What's Tank going for, food wise?
First of all, it would have to be like nothing too fancy.
Okay.
Some sort of alien version of mac and cheese, right? Like something where like you can just add water and the thing, and it'll be like, oh, mac and cheese. Love it. Gorgine and cheese or something, some weird alien word.
Is there a version of mac and cheese anywhere coming up in a book?
There will be now. That's a great idea.
Okay, I can't wait to see the mac and cheese and my quote about the quote on the back.
Yeah. It's gonna get real meta.
Yeah. Ray, thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy life to sit down with me and talk about Lesser Known and Tank and DLOD and you know, and just the stuff that you do. I know we've barely scratched the surface, but it sets up maybe, you know, round 2 down the way, especially once book 2 drops.
Yeah, no, dude. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me on your show. I was really happy to be part of episode 50.
Yeah,
congratulations on so many episodes.
Just kind of happened. You know, we're almost to a year of doing this. The beginning of next month will be our year solid. We haven't missed a weekend yet.
And we're back. Back from a wonderful interview. Jim was asleep while we had this thing going on.
I got attacked by a dog. It's just a whole Friday was not a good day.
Jim had a bad day, but that's okay because I sailed the ship right, as always. Got a wonderful interview. Ray is a hell of a guy. We went off about Tank. We went off all about some fun stuff. So, guys, if you listen to the interview, Jim may not know this at the point, but he will. Get your space mac and cheese ready because it's one hell of a ride. One hell of a ride. Check out TankMcGreggorBooks.com, 2 G's and McGregor, and you can get episode 1 or book 1 sent to your doorstep today. But when episode 2 drops, it is going to be sold through Lesser Known. So if you want book 1, you better get on it now. But as always, wonderful episode 50, Jim.
Yeah.
We've made it this far.
I'm going to have that cocked wall fart in my head for the rest of the
Happy
night.
daylight savings time. I'll send you the videos little cell phone stuff that I shot because it's funny. If you guys enjoyed the Fart Pedal demo, hit us up on Instagram and Facebook. And I want to thank all of our show sponsors. This is crazy to say. Mean Beard. Check out meanbeard.com, promo code GBP15. Mr. Joe Loving at Beardspiration 12, the most legendary beardsman out there besides this next man, the wonderful Greenbeard Grooming. We have no promo code. We don't know exactly what we're doing, but they're the newest member of the band coming on episode 50. Greenbeard Grooming, buy one of their combs, guys. They plant trees in the forest for Christ's sake.
Yes.
I mean, I don't have to elaborate anymore.
Yeah.
You buy something from them. They plant trees in the national forest.
In your honor.
In your name. And you get a certificate for it through the email. It's pretty cool, man. I couldn't be happier to be partnering with this guy.
And what What national forest?
I don't know exactly,
Okay.
but it's all over the world. Plantatree.org, so they do it everywhere.
Okay, that's killer.
It's everywhere. It's a big thing. He's partnering with another full-blown company that's doing it, and he's planting. I think he's a planter because it shows off he shows off a lot of outdoorsy stuff and plant starters and stuff. So I think he does some planting too.
Which is killer.
This guy, I said this before earlier in the show, guys. This guy does God's work.
Yep.
Shout out to this man. He is so wonderful. Greenbeardgrooming.com, guys. But as always, this show and other shows is brought to you by the wonderful Analog Pedals. Mr. Jeff Bolin from Kentucky having a wonderful setup of pedals, guys. Next month we are going to do a little discussion about a certain pedal that we might be concocting together to make something wonderful for the Guitar Parts podcast. And you, if you want to buy this thing, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun all next month, but we got to get through PirateCon first. Big thanks to all those guys. Show sponsor. Check out their respective websites. Check out Midnight's Haberdashery, wherever you can find them on social medias. Don't know what's going on with Smooth My Balls. They can pretty much do whatever they want to do at this point.
Yeah.
Don't get no contact. Don't get no love or support. So I don't know what's going on there.
I'd love their trimmer, though.
Trimmer's nice, but if they don't want to support whatever, I don't know. I haven't seen any activity out of them in a long time. But that is it, guys. Episode 50. Holy crap.
0.5. 505. It's crazy. 50.
50. Oh my gosh. From 1 to 50, we're almost a year old.
From the introductory podcast with not knowing how to do it to now it's like...
It's like, yeah, today was one of the harder days because we had extra crap to set up. But we got around it. We found the bad cable, threw it out, just like our dirty laundry segment every week. But guys, if you learned anything on this show...
It was definitely by accident.
Guys, have fun this week. Enjoy PirateCon Week 2. Check out all our sponsors' websites. I've been your host, Josh Jones.
I've been your co-host, Jim Steger. Enjoy the extra time outside, people.
Daylight savings time, boys and girls. Enjoy that time. Go outside and play in your treehouse outside or something.